The plasma bolt missed Krev's head by less than a meter. He dove behind the rusted hull plating as another volley tore through the air where he'd been standing. His 3 hearts hammered against his ribcage. This was supposed to be easy. The briefing said humans were fragile, weak, slow to react. The briefing was wrong. Krev's squad of 12 had dropped onto this abandoned mining station expecting minimal resistance. Intel reported 3 human scouts, poorly armed, probably terrified. The Zathran Empire had conquered 47 species in the last century. Humans would be number 48. Except the humans weren't running. "Contact left!" Vosh screamed through the comm before his voice cut to static. Krev risked a glance around the plating. Vosh's body lay crumpled 30 meters away, smoke rising from the hole in his chest armor rated to stop anything short of a mad cannon round. What were these humans using? Another bolt slammed into his cover. The metal screamed and buckled. Krev's thermal scanner showed movement. Impossible movement. 3 signatures weaving through the debris field like they could see in the dark, like they knew exactly where his squad was hiding. "Fall back to the cargo bay," Krev ordered. His voice cracked. 6 voices confirmed. 6 out of 12. Half his squad gone in less than 2 minutes. He sprinted across the corridor. His powerful legs carried him faster than any human should move. But something whistled past his shoulder, and Dren, running beside him, simply stopped existing from the waist up. The explosion painted the walls red. Krev didn't stop running. The cargo bay doors were sealed. Jax and Mira were already there, weapons trained on the corridor. Their eyes were wide. Prey eyes. Krev had never seen that look on a Zathran warrior before. "They're hunting us," Jax whispered. "They're actually hunting us." Emergency strips glowed faint red. Krev's scanner showed the 3 human signatures approaching, not rushing, walking, confident, methodical. "Open fire on my mark," Krev said. His hand shook on his weapon. "We hit them together. Overwhelming force. They're just 3. The humans rounded the corner. Krev saw them for the first time. Shorter than Zathran. Slimmer. Wearing armor that looked cobbled together from scrap. One was female. She was smiling. "Mark!" Krev screamed. 6 Zathran warriors opened fire simultaneously. The corridor became a wall of plasma and particle beams. Enough firepower to level a building. The air itself ignited. When the barrage stopped, smoke filled the space. Krev's scanner flickered. The signatures were gone. Dead. Had to be dead. Then he heard it. Laughter. Human laughter. From behind them. Krev spun around. All 3 humans stood inside the cargo bay. Impossible. The door had been sealed. The female stepped forward. "First time fighting humans?" she asked in perfect Zathran. Her smile widened. "Don't worry. You'll get used to the terror." She raised her weapon. "Or you won't." Krev fired first. His plasma rifle discharged at point-blank range, a shot that should have vaporized the human female's torso. She wasn't there. She moved like liquid, like gravity didn't apply to her species. The bolt struck the cargo container behind her, and molten metal sprayed across the bay. The male on her left didn't dodge. He stepped into Jax's line of fire, and the plasma round hit his chest plate dead center. The impact should have killed him. Instead, he staggered back half a step, looked down at the glowing impact point, and laughed. "That tickled," he said. Then he moved. Krev had fought for 15 years. He'd seen every species the Empire encountered. None moved like this human. The male crossed 10 meters in under a second, his armored fist connecting with Jax's mandibles. The crack echoed through the bay. Jax, a decorated warrior who'd survived the siege of Prax 4, dropped like his strings had been cut. Mira screamed and fired wildly. The 3rd human, younger than the others, sidestepped every shot like he could see the future. His weapon came up smooth and casual. One shot. Mira's weapon exploded in her hands, shrapnel tearing through her arm. "Krev, right?" the female asked. She still hadn't fired. Still hadn't needed to. "That's what your buddy called you before we introduced ourselves." Krev's rifle was empty. His sidearm felt like a toy in his trembling hand. "How did you get in here?" Maintenance shaft, she said, jerking her thumb at a vent cover lying on the floor. Your thermal scans don't pick up humans very well. Something about our body temperature. We run hot, but not hot enough for your sensors to prioritize. The male kicked Krev's rifle away. It skittered across the deck plating. Intel didn't mention that, did they? What else didn't they tell you? Everything. They didn't tell him anything that mattered. I am Krev of the Zathran Third Fleet, he said, forcing his voice steady. We are advanced scouts for an armada of 200 warships. They will glass this entire sector when they arrive. The female tilted her head. When do they arrive? 72 hours. Plenty of time then. She looked at her companions. The younger one was checking Mira's wound, applying something that made her stop screaming. The male was ensuring Jack stayed unconscious. They moved with practiced efficiency. This wasn't their first ambush. Time for what? Krev demanded. To teach your fleet the same lesson you just learned. The female's smile vanished. Her eyes went cold. You picked the wrong species to underestimate. She activated a holo display from her wrist unit. Dozens of signatures appeared across the mining station. Not 3 humans. Dozens, maybe hundreds. This station's been ours for 6 months, she continued. We let your empire think it was abandoned. Let you send scouts. Let you get comfortable. The display zoomed out, showing the sector. More signatures. Ships, human ships, concealed in the asteroid field. Your 200 warships are going to jump right into the biggest ambush in this quadrant's history. Krev's third heart stopped beating. His species had 3 for redundancy, for survival, but right now he felt like he had none. You're using us as bait, he whispered. No. The female deactivated the display. We're using your entire advanced fleet as bait. You get to carry a message. The younger human had finished with Mira. She was conscious now, cradling her bandaged arm, eyes glazed with shock. Jax groaned and stirred. Both were alive. The humans had kept them alive deliberately. What message? Krev asked. The female leaned close. Her breath was warm. Her eyes burned with something Krev recognized from his own reflection after his first battle, the look of someone who'd seen combat and learned to love it. Tell your empire that humanity doesn't surrender. We don't negotiate. We don't run. She straightened. And right now, your fleet is prey. The male tossed Krev a data chip. Coordinates and timeline for the ambush. Encrypted, but your cryptographers will crack it in about 70 hours, just in time for them to realize they can't warn the fleet. Why give us this? Krev caught the chip reflexively. Because the terror is better when you see it coming, the female said. When you know exactly what's about to happen and can't stop it. Alarms blared. The station shuddered. Krev's scanner showed multiple contacts. The humans' ships were moving, repositioning. Your shuttle's in docking bay 3, the younger human said. We cleared the route. You've got 15 minutes before we lock down the station. Letting him run. Krev grabbed Mira, hauled her up. The male had already thrown Jax over his shoulder and was carrying him toward the exit. Why are you helping? Krev asked. The female smiled again. That terrible, knowing smile. Because dead scouts can't spread fear. But survivors? Survivors tell stories. They warn their friends. They describe what they saw. She paused at the doorway. And when your fleet arrives and dies anyway, when they learn that even knowing about the trap couldn't save them, that's when the real terror begins. Krev ran. He ran faster than he'd ever run in his life, Mira stumbling beside him, the male human carrying Jax effortlessly alongside them until they reached the shuttle. As the shuttle launched, Krev looked back at the station. Human signatures swarmed across his sensors now, no longer hiding. Dozens of them, armed, organized, waiting. He gripped the data chip until his hand ached. 72 hours until the fleet arrived. 72 hours to live with the knowledge that he couldn't save them. The medical bay aboard the Zathran cruiser Valkor smelled like disinfectant and fear. Krev stood at attention before Commander Thrace while medics worked on Mira and Jax in the background. His uniform was still stained with Dren's blood. 3 humans, Thrace said. His voice was flat. Dangerous. 3 humans killed 6 trained warriors and sent you running. There were more, Commander. Dozens, maybe hundreds hiding across the station. Your scanner logs show 3 signatures. They have technology that masks their heat output. They ambushed us. They knew we were coming. Krev held out the data chip. They gave us this. Coordinates for an ambush. They want us to know what's coming. Thrace took the chip between 2 claws like it might explode. They gave you intelligence. Enemy combatants gave you their battle plans. As a warning, sir. They said our fleet is walking into a trap. Then we adjust our approach vector. We delay the jump. We analyze their positions and strike from an unexpected angle. Thrace moved to his tactical display. If they're foolish enough to reveal their deployment, we've already won. Krev wanted to believe that. His training told him the commander was right. But his instincts, the ones that had kept him alive for 15 years, screamed otherwise. Permission to speak freely, sir? Thrace nodded. They wanted us to have this information. Everything they did was calculated. They kept us alive specifically to deliver this message. Krev's voice dropped. What if the data is accurate? What if they want us to know because it won't matter? You're suggesting an enemy would reveal genuine intelligence because they're confident we can't counter it? Thrace's mandibles clicked in amusement. That's not tactics. That's arrogance. I saw their faces, Commander. It wasn't arrogance. It was certainty. The medical bay doors hissed open. Admiral Crane entered, her ceremonial armor gleaming under the harsh lights. 2 guards flanked her. Every Zathran in the room snapped to attention, at ease. Crane's eyes fixed on Krev. I've reviewed your mission logs. I've read your report. I've examined the data chip's encryption. She stepped closer. I've also reviewed humanity's military history from our intelligence archives. She activated a holo display. Images flickered to life. Humans in primitive armor fighting with chemical weapons. Humans in mechanized suits storming fortified positions. Humans in void-capable ships engaging enemies with superior numbers. Humanity has been at war for their entire recorded history, Crane said. They fight each other when they have no other enemies. They've developed more weapons systems than any species we've encountered. Their literature glorifies combat. Their children play war games. She zoomed in on one image. A human soldier, face-painted, eyes wild, charging into fire. They don't just accept casualties. They honor them. They build monuments to their dead and teach their young to aspire to the same sacrifice. Krev's blood ran cold. The Zathran Empire has fought 47 species, Crane continued. Every single one surrendered when faced with overwhelming force. They saw logic. They chose survival. She deactivated the display. Humans don't think like that. When cornered, they don't surrender. They escalate. Then we're calling off the assault? Commander Thrace asked. No. Crane's expression hardened. We're committing the entire 7th Fleet. 400 warships instead of 200. We're going to hit that station with enough firepower to crack a moon. If they want to fight, we'll give them a fight they can't win. Krev's mouth went dry. Admiral, with respect, that might be exactly what they want. Explain. The female, their leader, she said something. She said we picked the wrong species to underestimate. Krev pulled up his own recordings, the ones his armor had captured. Listen to this part. The female human's voice filled the room. Tell your empire that humanity doesn't surrender. We don't negotiate. We don't run. We hunt. Silence. She's baiting us, Krev said. Everything about this is bait. They let us escape. They gave us information. They told us exactly what to expect. Because they want us to bring everything we have. Why would they want that? Thrace demanded. Admiral Crane stared at the frozen image of the human female's smile. Because they're not defending a mining station. They're making a statement. They want us to throw our full might at them and fail. They want every species in this sector to see the Zathran Empire defeated. She turned to face her officers. Our intelligence was incomplete. We thought humans were another conquest, another species to absorb into the Empire. We were wrong. She straightened. But we're committed now. Every species we've encountered is watching. If we back down, if we show weakness, the Empire fractures. Rebellions start. Our control collapses. So we're damned either way, Thrace said. No. Crane's voice turned to iron. We're adapting. Humans want to hunt? Fine. We'll show them what happens when the prey has teeth. She activated the fleet-wide comm. All ships, this is Admiral Crane. We accelerate the timeline. Fleet jumps in 60 hours. Full combat deployment. Every weapon system armed. Every fighter launched. Every soldier ready. The bridge erupted with activity. Officers shouted orders. Screens filled with tactical data. The machine of war grinding into motion. Krev stood frozen. 60 hours. The data chip said $70. The humans had calculated for 72 hours of preparation time. Crane was trying to catch them off guard, but the female's smile haunted him. That knowing, confident smile. What if they'd calculated for that too? What if changing the timeline was exactly what the humans expected? Krev looked down at his hands. They were still shaking. 15 years of combat and he'd never felt this before. Not against the Kryl swarms. Not during the Prax 4 siege. Not ever. Pure, primal terror. And in 60 hours, 400 Zathran warships would learn why. The 7th Fleet materialized in normal space like vengeful gods. 400 warships, their weapons charged, their shields at maximum, their crews ready for blood. Krev watched from the Valkor's observation deck as the fleet formed into attack formation. Carriers launched fighters. Destroyers moved to forward positions. Battle cruisers powered their main cannons. The mining station floated ahead, small and insignificant against the backdrop of stars. No defensive platforms. No obvious weapons. Just rusted metal and silence. Too quiet. Scanning. The tactical officer reported. Multiple heat signatures detected. Confirmed human vessels in the asteroid field. Counting 20. No, 30 contacts. Frigate class. Some destroyer equivalents. Admiral Crane stood at the center of the bridge, hands clasped behind her back. 30 ships against 400. They're either suicidal or have something we're not seeing. Could be cloaked reinforcements, Commander Thrace suggested. Possible. Helm, begin the assault pattern. Maintain formation integrity. Carriers, launch all wings. I want eyes on every cubic meter of this sector. The fleet moved forward. Hundreds of fighters screamed ahead, their engines burning bright. Krev's tactical display showed the human ships holding position, not retreating, not advancing, just waiting. They should be running, Krev muttered. A junior officer nearby heard him. Let them wait. We'll vaporize them in the first volley. Krev didn't respond. He kept watching the human ships, counting them, analyzing their positions. They were spread out, dispersed, not clustered for mutual defense. It made no tactical sense unless... They're forming a perimeter, Krev said suddenly. Look at their positions. They're not defending the station. They're surrounding us. Thrace zoomed in on the display. His eyes widened. He's right. They've positioned themselves in a sphere around our approach vector. Adjusting course, Crane ordered. All ships Vector 270 will approach from their weak side. The fleet began its turn. Massive warships changing trajectory, their momentum carrying them in a wide arc. That's when the asteroids moved. Contact! The tactical officer screamed. Multiple new signatures. They were hiding in the rocks, counting 50, 70, 90 additional ships. Krev's blood froze. The asteroids hadn't been asteroids at all. They'd been human ships, their heat signatures masked, their hulls disguised with rock plating, floating dormant until the Zathran fleet committed to its attack run. All ships evasive action, Crane barked. Break formation. Engage at will. Too late. The human ships opened fire simultaneously. Not with plasma or particle beams. With something else. Kinetic rounds moving at relativistic speeds. Chunks of metal accelerated to a fraction of light speed. Impossible to dodge. Impossible to deflect. The first round struck the outer cruisers. Shields flared and died. Hulls ruptured. Ships listed. venting atmosphere and bodies into the void. Krev watched in horror as 3 cruisers simply ceased to exist, torn apart by impacts that released more energy than nuclear weapons. Return fire! All batteries. Crane's voice remained steady even as the bridge shook from nearby detonations. The Zathran fleet unleashed everything. Plasma cannons lit up the void. Missiles streaked toward human positions. Fighter wings dove into attack runs. The firepower would have destroyed a planetary defense grid. The human ships scattered like startled fish. They moved in ways capital ships shouldn't move, burning hard in multiple directions, changing vectors with reckless abandon. Most of the Zathran fire hit empty space. The shots that connected splashed against shields that blazed white-hot but held. "What are their shields made of?" Thrace demanded. "Unknown, sir. They're absorbing energy at rates exceeding our theoretical maximums." Another volley of kinetic rounds hammered the fleet. A battlecruiser's main reactor went critical, the explosion taking 2 destroyers with it. Debris scattered across the battlefield. "They're targeting our heavy ships," Krev said, "trying to eliminate our biggest guns first. Then we use the carriers. Launch everything. Overwhelm their defenses with numbers." Thousands of fighters poured from the carrier bays. The human ships switched tactics immediately. Point defense lasers flickered to life. Invisible beams that only revealed themselves when they hit targets. Zathran fighters exploded by the dozen, their shields useless against weapons that struck at light speed. "This is Carrier Group 3, a voice screamed over comms. "We've lost 60% of our wing. They're cutting through us like static." Krev pulled up the tactical feed. Carrier Group 3 was gone. A human destroyer had fired something, a weapon that looked like a concentrated beam of particles, and it had carved through the carrier's entire length. The massive ship broke in half, both sections tumbling, still burning. "We need to retreat," Krev said. "We have 400 ships," Thrace snapped. "They have barely 100. Check the count now." Thrace's face went pale. 372. They'd lost 28 capital ships in less than 10 minutes. Admiral Crane watched the display with cold eyes. "Deploy the dreadnought. If they want to see our full strength, let's show them." The fleet parted. From the center, a ship 5 times larger than any other pushed forward. The Executor, the 7th Fleet's pride, a dreadnought capable of cracking continental plates. Its main cannon began to charge, energy building, space itself warping around the barrel, targeting the largest human vessel, the weapons officer reported. Firing in 10 seconds. The human ship stopped moving. All of them. They just hung in space, engines dark, like they were waiting. 5 seconds. Krev's instincts screamed. "It's a trap! Don't fire!" 2 seconds. The Executor fired. A beam of pure energy wide as a city block crossed the distance in an instant. It struck the human destroyer dead center. The destroyer's shields held for exactly 1 second. Then they failed. The beam punched through the hull, through the reactor, through the other side. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash. Krev waited for the cheer, for the triumph. It didn't come, because the human destroyer, as it died, fired one last shot. A single missile, smaller than a fighter, streaked toward the Executor. Point defense tried to stop it, failed. The missile hit the dreadnought's bow and didn't explode. It drilled. Krev watched in disbelief as the missile burrowed into the Executor's armor like it was paper. It disappeared inside the massive ship. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the Executor came apart from the inside. Secondary explosions rippled along its hull. Decks collapsed. Bulkheads failed. The reactor containment shattered, and the dreadnought, the unstoppable weapon of the Zathran Empire, died in a cascade of fire that consumed a dozen nearby ships. Silence on the bridge. Complete, total silence. "Retreat," Admiral Crane said quietly. "All ships full burn. Get us out of here." The fleet broke. Formation shattered. Ships fleeing in every direction, desperate to reach jump distance. The human vessels pursued. Not all of them. Just enough. Picking off stragglers, crippling engines, letting damaged ships limp away while destroying those that fought back. Krev understood. They weren't trying to kill everyone. They were letting survivors escape, just like they'd let him escape from the station, because survivors spread fear. The Valkor made it to jump distance. So did 214 other ships. 185 didn't. As they jumped to hyperspace, Krev looked back one last time. The human ships had stopped pursuing. They hung in space among the wreckage, their running lights illuminating the debris field of Zathran bodies and broken dreams. And somewhere among those ships, Krev knew, the female was smiling. The Empire's capital world, Zathros Prime, had never seen a fleet return like this. Damaged ships limped into orbit, their hulls scorched and breached, their crews hollow-eyed and silent. Krev stood in the Grand Assembly Chamber, one of 50 survivors selected to give testimony before the High Council. The chamber was vast, circular, with seats rising in tiers around a central platform. Counselors from across the Empire filled those seats. Military leaders, planetary governors, economic ministers, all of them waiting to understand how the unstoppable Seventh Fleet had been shattered. High Counselor Varain spoke first. His scales were white with age, his voice rough. Admiral Crane, you led 400 warships against a mining station defended by approximately 100 human vessels. You returned with 215. Explain. Crane stood at the platform's center, her armor stripped of decorations. The intelligence we received was fundamentally flawed. Humanity is not like the other species we've encountered. They don't fight to defend territory. They fight to win. That's a distinction without meaning, another counselor said. All species fight to win. No. Crane shook her head. Other species fight until the cost exceeds the benefit, they calculate. They surrender when logic dictates. Humans calculate differently. They measure cost in different ways. She activated a display. Battle footage filled the air. Zathran ships exploding. Human vessels moving with impossible agility. The Executor's death replayed in horrific detail. They sacrificed ships willingly, Crane continued. One destroyer stayed in position to fire a killing shot even though it meant certain death. The crew didn't evacuate. They didn't retreat. They knew they would die and they stayed anyway because that one shot would cripple our dreadnought. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. They also let us go, Crane said. They could have pursued, could have destroyed more fleeing ships. They chose not to. They wanted survivors to return home and report what happened. Psychological warfare, Counselor Vran said. Effective psychological warfare. Crane's voice hardened. Morale across the fleet is shattered. 3 ships have reported mutinies. Crews refusing deployment orders. Soldiers requesting discharge. We lost 185 ships in combat. We're losing dozens more to desertion and fear. Krev watched the council members shift uncomfortably. The Empire had never faced this. Defeats happened occasionally, but they were temporary setbacks, quickly avenged. This felt different. This felt like the beginning of something worse. We need perspective, Counselor Vrain said. Scout Krev, you encountered humans first. You spoke with them. What is your assessment? Krev stepped to the platform, every eye in the chamber fixed on him. He'd rehearsed this moment, prepared his words, but standing here under this scrutiny made his 3 hearts race. They're apex predators, he said simply, not metaphorically, literally. Humanity evolved as hunters on a death world. Their planet has extreme weather, deadly fauna, diseases that would kill most species. They survived by becoming better killers than anything else on their world. He pulled up his own recordings. The female human's face appeared, frozen mid-smile. This is Captain Lauren Hayes of the Terran Defense Force. She led the ambush at the mining station. She told me humanity doesn't surrender. I thought it was bravado. Krev's voice dropped. I was wrong. It's simply fact. Their entire culture is built on the idea that retreat is temporary and defeat is impossible. Surely they've lost wars, a counselor challenged. They have. Dozens. Against each other. And then they study those losses, adapt, and come back stronger. They've been refining warfare for 10,000 years. Not against external threats. Against themselves. They've weaponized evolution itself. The chamber fell silent. "There's more," Krev said. He pulled up data from the chip Hayes had given him. This information was accurate. Every ship position, every weapon placement, every tactical deployment. She gave us perfect intelligence and we still lost. "How is that possible?" Vrain demanded. "Because she knew we'd adjust our tactics, knew we'd accelerate the timeline, knew we'd bring overwhelming force. She planned for all of it." Krev met the High Counselor's eyes. "We didn't fall into one trap. We fell into layers of traps, each designed to counter our response to the previous one." A military counselor stood. "Then we adapt as well. We study their tactics. We develop countermeasures. We bring 10,000 ships instead of 400. "And they'll plan for that too," Krev said. "That's what I'm trying to explain. They don't just react. They think generations ahead. The battle we fought? Hayes probably planned it months ago, maybe years. She set the stage, baited us in, and executed perfectly." "So what do you propose?" Vrain asked. "Surrender? The mighty Zathran Empire kneels to a species we just discovered? I propose we acknowledge reality. We can't beat them conventionally. They're better at war than we are. They've had more practice. They enjoy it more." Krev pulled up the final piece of data from the chip. "Look at this." A star map appeared. Human territory, vast and scattered. Dozens of colony worlds spread across multiple sectors, and around each one, defensive installations, shipyards, military academies. "This is what they showed me. This is what they wanted us to see." Krev zoomed in on one system. "This is Earth, their homeworld. Population 9 billion. And look at the military presence." The chamber gasped collectively. Orbital platforms numbered in the thousands. Fleet concentrations that dwarfed anything the Zathran Empire maintained. Defensive grids that could annihilate invasion forces before they reached atmosphere. "They're not defending a mining station," Krev said. "They're defending civilization. And that station, that ambush, that was them being gentle. That was them showing restraint." "Restraint?" A counselor laughed bitterly. "They destroyed half our fleet. They destroyed half our fleet with less than 1% of their total military capacity." Krev let that sink in. "Captain Hayes told me humanity doesn't negotiate, but I think she was testing us. I think she wanted to see if we'd learn, if we'd understand the message." "What message?" Vrain asked. "That we can't win. Not now. Not ever. Not unless we change everything about how we approach them." Admiral Crane nodded slowly. "The scout is correct. I've reviewed every battle report, every tactical analysis. Humanity has no strategic weakness we can exploit. Their technology matches ours. Their tactics exceed ours. Their will to fight surpasses anything we've encountered." She straightened. "I recommend we open diplomatic channels immediately, not from a position of strength. We don't have that anymore. From a position of honesty. We tell them we underestimated them. We acknowledge the defeat. We ask for terms." The chamber erupted. Counselors shouting, some demanding more war, others calling for Crane's arrest for defeatism. But Vron raised his hand and silence fell. "The Empire has never sued for peace," he said quietly. "The Empire has never needed to," Crane replied. "Until now." Vrain looked at the star map, at the impossible concentration of human military power, at the recordings of Captain Hayes' knowing smile, at the wreckage of the 7th Fleet floating in his tactical displays. "Draft the message," he said finally. "We contact the humans. We negotiate." Krev felt relief wash through him. Maybe the terror could end. Maybe both species could step back from the edge. Then an aide burst into the chamber, scales flushed with panic. "Emergency transmission from the border systems. The humans are moving." Multiple fleets, dozens of ships, heading into Empire space. The chamber froze. Hayes' face still smiled from the display, frozen in that moment of terrible confidence. Krev understood then. The battle had never been about the mining station. It had been an interview, a test, and the Empire had failed. Now humanity was coming to deliver the final lesson. The human fleet arrived at the border system of Kelthara without firing a shot. 30 warships dropped from hyperspace and simply stopped. holding position just outside weapons range. They made no demands, issued no threats, just waited. Krebs stood on the bridge of the Valcor, now part of a hastily assembled defensive force of 80 ships. His hands were steady this time. Not because the fear had left, but because he'd accepted it. Terror was just another fact now, like gravity or vacuum. "They're hailing us," the communications officer said. Admiral Crane, reinstated to command after the Council's emergency session, nodded. "Put it through." The view screen flickered. Captain Lauren Hayes appeared, still wearing that same cobbled armor, still carrying that same confident expression, but this time she wasn't smiling. "Admiral Crane," Hayes said. "We meet properly at last. Captain Hayes, your fleet is in violation of Empire space. Withdraw immediately or face destruction." Hayes tilted her head slightly. "You have 80 ships. We have 30. Your tactical computer is probably telling you those odds favor you." She leaned forward. "It's wrong. Again. But that's not why we're here." "Then state your purpose. We're here to talk. Face to face. You, me, and whoever else you think should be in the room. Neutral ground. The station at Kalthara's second moon. 2 hours." Crane glanced at Krev, then back to the screen. "Why should we trust you? Because if we wanted to kill you, Admiral, you'd already be dead." Hayes gestured off screen. Something appeared in the viewport. Decloak technology revealing what had been invisible. 3 human destroyers, positioned perfectly to annihilate the Valcor's bridge. They'd been there the whole time, silent and waiting. Krev's breath caught. They'd been targeted before the conversation even started. The destroyers vanished again, cloaking fields re-engaging. 2 hours, Hayes repeated. "Come armed if it makes you feel better. Bring your best soldiers. Bring your skepticism, but come ready to listen." The transmission ended. Crane sat motionless for 10 seconds. Then she stood. "Krev, you're with me. Thrace, you have command. If we're not back in 4 hours, retreat to Zathros Prime. Admiral, this could be a trap." "Yes, probably is." Crane checked her sidearm. "But she's right. If they wanted us dead, we'd be dead. So we're gonna find out what humanity actually wants." The station was old, abandoned decades ago when the mining operation had collapsed. Human soldiers had secured the docking bay, but they didn't aim weapons. They simply directed Crane and Krev to a conference room deep in the station's core. Hayes waited inside, seated at a table with 2 other humans. The male from the mining station ambushed and another woman, older, with gray hair and Admiral's insignia on her uniform. "Admiral Crane, Scout Krev, thank you for coming." Hayes gestured to the seats across from her. "This is Commander Derek Stone and Admiral Patricia Grant of the Terran Defense Force." Crane sat slowly. Krev remained standing, scanning for threats, finding dozens. Human soldiers at every corner. Weapons hidden but present. They were completely at humanity's mercy. "You tested us," Crane said, "at the mining station. At Kalthara. All of this has been a test." "Yes," Admiral Grant said. Her voice was gravelly, worn by years. "We needed to know what kind of species we were dealing with. Whether you'd learn, whether you'd adapt, whether you'd talk. And your assessment? Mixed." Grant pulled up a display. "You came here. That's good. Shows flexibility. Shows you're not locked into conquest as your only option. But your council is split. Half want peace, half want revenge. We're monitoring your communications. We know the debate's happening on Zathros Prime right now. You're spying on us," Thrace said via comm. "Constantly," Hayes confirmed without shame. "Just like you've been trying to spy on us. Difference is, we're better at it." "What do you want?" Krev asked. "You've proven your superiority. You could have destroyed our fleet, could have struck at our worlds. Why negotiate?" Hayes stood and walked to the viewport. Outside, stars glittered, indifferent to the drama of species and empires. "Because we're tired," she said quietly. "Humanity has been at war for our entire history. With nature, with each other, with the universe itself. We've gotten very, very good at it." She turned back. "But good at war doesn't mean we enjoy it. Doesn't mean we want it." "You could have fooled me," Crane said. Your captain smiled while killing my soldiers. I smiled because I was relieved, Hayes said. Relieved that your troops fought instead of executing prisoners. Relieved that you followed basic rules of engagement. Relieved that maybe, just maybe, you were a species we could work with instead of exterminate. The word hung in the air like a blade. You're threatening genocide? Krev demanded. I'm stating capability. Admiral Grant's voice turned cold. The Zathran Empire has conquered 47 species. We've studied your methods. Client states. Forced integration. Cultural erasure. You don't enslave, but you erase identity. Make everyone Zathran, eventually. Those species prosper under our rule, Crane said. Some do, some don't. We've made contact with 12 of your client's species. Most are content. 3 are desperate for liberation. 2 have active resistance movements. Grant leaned forward. Humanity has a problem with empires. Historical trauma. We've spent centuries fighting them, toppling them, preventing them. So when we found the Zathran Empire expanding toward our space, we had a choice. Destroy us preemptively, Krev said, or teach you a better way. Hayes returned to the table. That's what this has been. Education. Showing you that conquest has costs. That some species will make you pay in blood for every world you take. That expansion has limits. So you want us to stop expanding? Crane said. We want you to stop forced expansion, Grant corrected. Trade? Great. Cultural exchange? Wonderful. Mutual defense pacts? We'll sign one today. But rolling into systems with fleets and demanding integration? That ends. Now. And if we refuse? Hayes met her eyes. Then we demonstrate that humanity doesn't make idle threats. We dismantle your empire piece by piece. We liberate every client species. We reduce your fleet to scrap. We make the cost so unbearable that your people overthrow the High Council themselves. She paused. We've done it before. To our own governments. We'll do it to yours. Silence filled the room. There's a third option, Commander Stone said. He'd been quiet until now, but his voice carried weight. Partnership. Real partnership. Not client states. Not vassals. Equals. He activated a new display. Star maps showing both human and Zathran space, and beyond both, in the dark regions unexplored, other markers, unknown contacts, signals, threats. There are other species, other empires, some friendly, some not. Humanity has encountered 6 other intelligent species besides you. 3 are allies, 2 are neutral, 1 is a problem. The display zoomed to a region of space far from both territories. Ships appeared in the projection, massive and alien, nothing like human nor Zathran design. The Vorith Collective, Grant said. Hive mind species. Aggressive. Expanding. They've wiped out 2 civilizations we know of. They're 20 years from human space. 30 from yours. Krev studied the projections. The Vorith ships were enormous, and there were hundreds of them. You're saying we should ally against this threat, Crane said. I'm saying that humanity learned a long time ago that yesterday's enemy can be tomorrow's ally if you're both facing extinction. Grant deactivated the display. The Zathran Empire has resources we need. Industrial capacity, trained fleets, strategic positions. You're good at organization, at logistics, at building infrastructure. Humanity is good at war. Together, we might survive the Vorith. Separately, we both die. This could be fabricated, Crane said. A lie to manipulate us. It could be, Hayes agreed. So we'll give you coordinates. Send your own scouts. Verify the threat yourself. Take 6 months. We'll maintain current positions, no further incursions into Empire space. You investigate, you decide. She slid a data chip across the table. Unlike the one she'd given Krev before, this one was transparent, unencrypted. Everything we know about the Vorith is on there. Our encounters, our losses, our assessments. Full transparency. Crane picked up the chip slowly. Why? Because terror works both ways, Admiral. Hayes' expression softened slightly. We showed you what humanity can do in war. Now we're showing you what we can do in peace. We're hoping you're smart enough to choose the latter." Krev found his voice. "And if the Empire chooses war anyway? If the High Council decides pride matters more than survival? Then Captain Hayes returns to doing what she does best," Admiral Grant said. "And the Empire learns that the terror you felt at that mining station was just the beginning." Hayes stood and extended her hand, a human gesture Krev had learned meant peaceful intent. "But we're betting you won't choose that. We're betting that the Zathran Empire, for all its flaws, is pragmatic, that survival outweighs ego." Admiral Crane looked at the hand, at the data chip, at the star map showing threats beyond their current conflict. She stood and gripped Hayes' hand. 6 months, Crane said. "We verify your information. If the Vorith are real, we talk alliance. If this is deception, we meet again as enemies. Fair enough?" Hayes smiled, but this time it was different. Warmer, almost hopeful. "We'll be waiting." The meeting ended. Krev and Crane returned to the Valcour. The human fleet remained at the border, watching but not threatening. As they jumped to hyperspace, Krev looked back one last time at the human ships holding position in the dark. "Do you think they're right?" he asked. "About the Vorith?" "I think," Crane said slowly, "that Captain Hayes is the most dangerous human I've ever met. I think she's terrified of something out there. If she's scared, we should be too." The Valcour jumped, leaving the humans behind. But Krev knew they'd meet again. As allies or enemies, only time would tell. The terror had found him during his first battle with humanity. Now he had to decide whether that terror would consume him or teach